I'm currently a principal in Austin, Texas. I have 1,200 middle school students, of whom approximately 40% are minority students. I'm fortunate, it's a highly successful school. We have the highest ranking of exemplary in the state of Texas, and we're very proud of that. However, what brings me here today is not something we're terribly proud of. Cyberbullying is one of those issues that transcends everything else in education. We can sit all day long and talk about dropout rates, standardized achievement, college readiness. But this particular thing transcends all of those things, because if a child doesn't feel safe at school, all of those other issues are non-starters. I'm also here on behalf of the National Association of Secondary School Principals. They are the preeminent organization for principals, and their purpose is to be a voice for middle and high school principals. I'm also a volunteer for bullypolice.usa, and you'll know why in just a second. Basically, I'm here to be a voice for those people who can't be a voice for themselves, the students who are too disempowered by cyberbullying, and several of whom have gone on to commit suicide. So I'm here to be a voice for them and for the principals that serve them in our public schools every day. Our challenge, and it's yours and mine, is to protect them against the risks of technology while still protecting their First Amendment rights and allow them to use technology as a legitimate tool. And there's this preconceived notion in education that that is a state issue and not a federal issue. But I would say to you today the same thing I tell my staff on a daily basis. Where we put our time and our money sends a clear message to our community and our stakeholders about what we value. And we need your help at the federal level. And here's how this happened. A few years ago, I was a high school principal in East Texas, and I had a student come to me and tell me, the student is going to kill herself over cyberbullying. Do something, Miss Paris. And I said, I shall. And I thought, what am I going to do? I was clueless. I was powerless. I was not a new principal. I'd been in administration for several years, but I did not have the tools to know where to go next. All I could tell this child was, I'll do something. If it hadn't been for the research of Perry Aftab, who's a fellow speaker here today, and she didn't know I was going to say that, I did some research, and she helped me. Her work helped me immensely. It gave me practical tools to have the bashing sites shut down and moved. It gave me legitimate ways of working with fellow administrators. And then I took that work on the road, because my mission then became, I don't want another principal ever to have that situation in their school. It's a powerlessness, and we need your help to take it away. What we really need is some backbone. We need courage. We need somebody who is behind us when we say, knock it off. It's not okay to behave that way in the culture that we've developed in our campus. We need backing to say that when parents come to us and say, First Amendment rights to free speech. We need your help with those issues. And here's why. It took me years and a huge amount of time to come up with systems to train other principals. And the truth is, for campus administrators, that's not our focus. We're supposed to be instructional leaders. And if we're going to have the time to focus on those things that we value, then we need systems in place that deal with issues such as cyberbullying, because it will suck your time dry. I later had a situation where the police department in Austin had to shut my campus down because of internet threats that had been sent out on an email. If you can't imagine how much that disrupts the learning environment and the educational process, imagine how those parents felt in my community. So it is interfering with learning. What I found out was that 13 million students were being cyberbullied 5 years ago in middle school, and those students were dying. Dr. Phil had already mentioned several. Mr. Platts, you did too. You mentioned the high-profile cases, but what I found were stories about Matt Eplin and Jared High and Carl Hoover and Kelly and Jeff. Here's something Jeff's mom told us in the book Bully Side. The bully murdered my son using the keyboard as his weapon, just as surely as if he had crawled through a broken window and choked the life from him with his bare hands. It was not a death that was quick and merciful. It was a death that was slow and torturous, carried out day after day with lies and rumors and gossip. In 2008, GLSEN worked with NASSP, and they found that 2/3 of principals, coast to coast, are very desperate for help in developing professional development to deal with these issues. I'd venture to say that 2 years later, if you were to go back and ask the other third, they'd say, put me down for that too. There's this huge disparity between knowledge and wisdom on the internet. Mr. Platts, your son is sitting behind you now. I'd venture to say if he were like my child, he's probably texted his friends 1,000 times since we've been sitting there. It's inherent to their culture and their age group.
He would like to, but my sixth grader and eighth grader don't yet have their own cell phones.
That's what you think.
We're holding out.
And this disparity, bear in mind, technology is everything that was invented after I was born, and frankly, that includes the 8-track. So I don't have, I mean, that's the truth. I don't have that knowledge. But the point is, the kids have the knowledge, but we're the ones with the wisdom. They don't have the wisdom to know how to navigate that technology in a safe and meaningful way in and out of the school environment. And if we, as the responsible adults in their world, don't share that wisdom in a structured and strategic way, then we're letting them down. We're not going to be able to educate them. These kids are so desperate to belong to something that good kids are posing naked and sending photographs to their selected peer group. And we all know how that turns out for them, don't we? As a member of National Safe Schools Partnership, NASSB has endorsed the policy recommendations to prevent bullying, and that is embodied in your Safe Schools Improvement Act, which would amend the Safe and Drug-Free Schools so that this work is eligible for federal grants. The programs that I promote and have principals implement coast to coast are not funded. These are unfunded B.J. Paris mandates. Do this because it's a good thing. We need your help with that. We have to break that code of silence. In 84% of school shootings that are related to bullying, the student told somebody first. We have to have systems in place that enable students to speak up on behalf of their peer group. My mother always told me, don't speak unless you have something to add to the silence. I would like to think today that the stories that we share help fill the silence in a way that will make sure that no other names get added to the list that I shared with you today. We appreciate your time, we appreciate your support, and make ourselves available to you as a resource at any opportunity. Thank you for your time.